The next speaker is Michael Cull, PhD. His company is Amplify, and he's also with a government agency.
A conversation with Denise Lee, of course, and we were thinking what would be a good topic for a buzz session. That I've been hearing a lot about is this notion of 4 generations in the workplace and how does this relate to knowledge management. So what I wanted to do is do a little level setting and for you to then have that conversation and generate some buzz about this buzz. Well, who's talking about 4 generations in the workplace? Well, CNN's talking about it, PBS. Judy Woodruff recently had a documentary on the next generation and how this younger generation has different values from the previous generations. The knowledge management is interested in it, human capital, and the talent management communities. So who are these 4 generations? And they've been it's a loose categorization. Perhaps it's a taxonomy problem. But loosely defined, and these are buckets that we're all being dumped into, and you can discuss whether or not it's an appropriate way to break people out, are the maturers, the boomers, the Xers, and the millennials. Now, the maturers are those people who were born before 1945, grew up in the World War II era, so if you're 62 or older, you're considered a mature. Also called traditionalists, the greatest generation, the silent generation, and represent about 25 million people in the workforce. The boomers came between 1946 and 1964, are aged 43 to 61. Again, these are not strict boundaries. The me generation, the post-World War II generation, and represent about 77 million people. Okay, so this is the largest group still. The Xers, which came about 1965 to about 1980, aged about 27 to 42. The slackers, the baby bust. The ignored. We will not be ignored any longer. Oh, I'm an Xer, I guess. And of course the millennials. Well, okay, the Xers are about 30 million in the workforce, so that's one of the lowest. And the millennials, which is the Generation Y, the next generation, the echo boom, and these are people 26 or below. So what are some of the characteristics, some of the core values, and the cultural narratives that these different groups have? Now think about this, you know, and we can all probably tap into some that we've heard throughout our lives. Well, the maturers are the most wealthy in our society. They've had a lot of time to build up their wealth. Cultural narratives are around the Depression, Pearl Harbor, World War II. Who are some of their heroes and villains? We've got FDR, Churchill. Hitler is on the villain side. And so this led to core values of loyalty, duty to country, and quality and sacrifice. Sacrifice of men, of course, because women weren't really playing much of a role at that time. The boomers. Characteristics. Well, these are the folks who are in charge now, right? The people who have influence in society, who are making things happen, who the rubber hits the road, those are the boomers. Cultural narratives. Vietnam, Woodstock. Heroes and villains, JFK, Martin Luther King, Castro. Okay? And these led to core values of having a strong work ethic, strong interest in competition, productivity, but with a sense of individualism, which differed from the maturers, which were more about the collective. Followed by the Xers. Okay, now this is a group that the ignored. So we became skeptical. We rejected authority. We became untrusting of authority because about that, in the experience of many Xers, the institutions, the churches, the governments, they all let us down. Okay, so some of our cultural narratives are the Challenger disaster, Gulf War I, divorce, the fall of communism. It's a good thing. Heroes and villains. Bill Gates. Good point. Reagan. Hero or villain? Gorby. So it turns out that most of the heroes of the Xers are largely friends and family, the people that they know personally. Okay. Corporations and institutions, in a sense, are the villains. So their core values led to a prove-it-to-me mentality. I'm not going to take anyone's, any expert's word on this. You need to prove it to me. Show me the evidence. They value criticism over conventional wisdom, eschew entitlement or tenure, and are loyal to people, not organizations. Self-reliance would be a good word to define this group. Now the millennials. Anybody want to take a stab? Yeah. Entitlement, coddled, oh, I'm sorry. Connected. Ambitious. They want it all and they want it now. Multitaskers, the paragon of multitaskers. What are some of their cultural narratives? Terrorism. The internet. They grew up with the internet. And they grew up with celebrity. So some of their heroes are celebrities, not necessarily political figures or great leaders, but movie stars, sports figures. And their villains, of course, are people like McVeigh and Osama. Their core values. They were always told that they were special, right? So, baby on board. Their sense of uniqueness was constantly validated. And so one of the things they seek is fame. They're not afraid of change. They love change. And that may be an element of the fact that they're a younger generation, right? Okay, so how does this translate into the workplace?